Imagine this: you wake up on Christmas morning expecting joy, laughter, and celebration. But instead you're met with chaos, rebellion, and bloodshed. In 1831, Jamaica was shaken by a rebellion that involved up to 60,000 enslaved people, one-fifth of the colony's population. It started on December 25th, and though it was crushed by January 1832, it had a lasting impact on the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. The rebellion was driven by several key factors. The refusal to give enslaved people a Christmas holiday. 2. Rumors that Britain had abolished slavery, but plantation owners were keeping it a secret. 3. Economic hardship and oppressive conditions. And 4. Provocative speeches from local planters that fueled resentment. At the heart of the rebellion was Samuel Sharp, a Baptist preacher who had enough of the injustice. He led the charge, urging enslaved workers to refuse to labor on Christmas Day. What started as a peaceful protest soon turned into a violent revolt that rattled the foundations of the colony. Now let's dive into the details of what really happened. The background and build-up. In December 1831, tensions were high. The island's white planters, who were wealthy from enslaved labor, were on edge as whispers of rebellion spread among the enslaved. Samuel Sharp, a respected Baptist preacher, used his position to inspire defiance. Sharp was born in Yingchun, Montego Bay. He was literate, well treated by his master, and a leader in his community. Using his freedom to preach, Sharp conveyed the message of liberation alongside religious teachings. He quietly built an underground network, appointing leaders and organizing secret meetings. Sharp devised a plan where recruits swore on the Bible to refuse work after Christmas Day, a decision that would spark the rebellion. Sharp's network was expansive, spanning over 70 miles of Jamaican territory, and it reached across the plantations to involve thousands in the strike. The rebellion ignites. When December 25th arrived, the rebellion began in St. James Parish. Samuel Sharp envisioned a nonviolent strike, a refusal to work that would cripple the sugarcane harvest, putting economic pressure on plantation owners and forcing them to negotiate for better conditions and freedom. Sharp's communication network, known as the Slave Grapevine, connected literate enslaved Africans across multiple estates. Since Christmas fell on a Sunday, he assumed workers would also be off on Boxing Day, Monday, and the following Tuesday. This provided the perfect window for the protest. The rebellion ignited in St. James Parish, with 60,000 enslaved people, one-fifth of Jamaica's enslaved population, rising up. What began as a peaceful demonstration quickly turned violent. The first major act of defiance came when rebels set fire to Kensington Estate, marking the start of widespread unrest. By the next morning, the rebellion had spread to other parishes, including Trelawney, Westmoreland, and parts of St. Elizabeth. Fueled by generations of oppression, the rebels burned plantations, destroyed crops, and attacked their enslavers. The once quiet countryside had become a battleground, with the echoes of drums, conch shells, and gunfire sounding through the hills. The battle intensifies. The colonial authorities were caught off guard by the rapid spread of the rebellion. Governor Sir William Lindsay, determined to protect the interests of the plantation owners, deployed British troops and local militia to crush the uprising. However, the rebels, driven by an unyielding desire for freedom, refused to surrender easily. Using guerrilla tactics and their deep knowledge of the terrain, they launched surprise attacks on the colonial forces. The conflict quickly escalated into a bloody battle. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the rebels fought fiercely. In response, the authorities resorted to brutal measures, killing hundreds of enslaved individuals and burning entire villages to the ground. By December 27, 1831, Jamaica had plunged into chaos. The rebellion, now in its third day, had spread across the island, leaving a trail of destruction. Reports flooded in, plantations ablaze, crops destroyed, enslavers attacked. The once peaceful countryside had become a war zone, filled with the echoes of gunfire, screams, and wailing. Desperate to crush the uprising, the authorities hunted down its leaders. Among the first to be captured was Samuel Sharp, the charismatic Baptist preacher who had ignited the rebellion. Hoping to end the resistance, the colonial government imprisoned him, charging him with inciting the revolt. Despite the arrest of Samuel Sharp and other key leaders, the rebellion showed no signs of slowing down. If anything, their capture ignited an even greater resistance, as the enslaved individuals fought with renewed determination. The colonial authorities, now realizing they had gravely underestimated the depth of anger among the enslaved population, feared they were facing a full-scale revolution. In a desperate bid to crush the uprising, they launched a series of counterattacks on December 28, deploying more troops and militia across the island. Jamaica was now a battleground. The sounds of gunfire and cannon blasts echoed through the hills and valleys. Confident in their superior firepower, the authorities expected to swiftly end the rebellion. But the rebels, well organized and unshaken, refused to back down. As the last days of 1831 ticked away, the island was left in flames, smoldering plantations, charred ruins, and the remains of daring raids against colonial strongholds. By December 29, the British had been reinforced with fresh troops, determined to crush the uprising once and for all. The battle that day was intense and brutal, with heavy casualties on both sides. Yet, despite being outgunned and outnumbered, the rebels fought with ferocious determination. As December 30th arrived, the rebels launched a series of surprise attacks, catching the colonial forces off guard and inflicting significant losses. The island was now in complete turmoil, a landscape of mutual destruction and chaos. The Christmas season, once meant to be a time of brief rest, had turned into a battlefield of rebellion, gunfire, screams, and wails filling the air. But as December 31st dawned, the rebels found themselves facing overwhelming odds. Exhausted and battered, they were forced to retreat and regroup. In response, the British imposed martial law and sought the aid of the Maroons, an independent community of escaped slaves and skilled fighters. Their intervention proved decisive, as they helped track down and capture key rebel leaders, including Campbell and Deeney. Hundreds of rebels had been killed in battle, compared to only a handful of whites. Many more were captured and executed after the fighting ended. The economic damage to plantation owners was immense, but the rebels knew their time was running out. The colonial forces had regained control, and the rebellion had been brutally suppressed. Yet, even in defeat, the rebels refused to surrender their cause. Many vowed to continue the fight, even if it meant going underground and waging a guerrilla war against their oppressors. The end of the rebellion. By January 2, 1832, colonial forces, now reinforced with troops, managed to overpower the rebels. The island was exhausted, and the rebellion was crushed by the beginning of January. The cost was high. Over 200 enslaved people were killed, and more than 500 others faced execution or severe punishment. Samuel Sharp, despite being captured and sentenced to death, became a martyr. On May 23, 1832, he was hanged, but his sacrifice was not in vain. His actions and those of the rebels forced the British to confront the need for change. The legacy. The Christmas Rebellion, though crushed, played a critical role in the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. Within 18 months, King William IV signed the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which set the course for emancipation. While it wasn't until 1838 that full freedom was granted, the rebellion's impact was undeniable. Samuel Sharp's leadership and the defiance of the enslaved population paved the way for future generations in the struggle for justice. Their bravery and determination continue to inspire movements for equality and freedom around the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. The Christmas Rebellion wasn't just about a fight for freedom, it was a fight for justice, and its echoes are still felt today. As you reflect on this powerful moment in history, take a moment to consider the sacrifices that came before us. Share stories, listen to voices, and remember, conversations about the past shape the future. If you found this video insightful, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories that uncover the hidden truths of our shared human experience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.